Hi, I'm Courtney. I'm the president of Artists for Change, and we just did a recent art challenge, and this is one of our other winners, and I will have him introduce himself. So could you tell us your name, your class year, and your major?
Hi, my name is Asgar Ali. I'm a first year and my major is material science and engineering.
Awesome. And could you tell us just some of your interests in general?
So some of my hobbies includes photography. That's primarily my hobby, but on the side, I also like watching a lot of Netflix shows like The Office. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those are two of my favorite shows of all time. But that's pretty much it, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like during these times, Netflix is like everyone's side job. Like,
hmm
we could all be Netflix critics right now. Yeah, sad but true. So could you tell us when you first started like really working on photography? Like when did you start like taking it seriously and like really honing in on your skills?
Okay, because it's funny because I started during middle school, but I was like really bad. I started with my brother's old Canon 60D that he used to have, but he never used it, so I just took it and just like I would shoot anything in the house just for practice, but I was really bad. But I got serious about it during the sophomore year of my high school when two of my best buddies, they were also very interested in photography and we would just like go out after school and just like model for each other and do these various random like photo shoots, and that's when I like actually started taking it seriously. And initially like they were still pretty bad, but like eventually I like developed my own style and like sort of it took off, and I started my Instagram for my photography, and like people were reaching out for photo shoots and stuff like that. And that's when I knew that I wanted to like carry that on as like a hobby.
Yeah, and that could definitely be like a very lucrative hobby, especially like on campus, when clubs have events or like offices have events, if you start knowing people. I know like before this happened, I had reached out to you for opportunities that sadly fell through, but you can definitely even make money on campus, so it's a good hobby to have. Um,
hmm
but I guess like segueing from that point, do you feel like Lehigh is a conducive environment for you to sort of develop your photography skills? And if so, like how and why?
Yeah, so definitely because Lehigh provides a lot of opportunities for me to, go out as a creative and like shoot different events. Like you mentioned, campus events like the bed races, which I shot, and then during the Founders Week, there were a couple events that I took pictures for, and also like different clubs have different activities, such as like the BSU, they had a formal, and I shot for that. I got paid for that as well. Um, Other clubs like SASA and MSU, they've reached out, and I've helped them shoot during a couple of their events, and I also manage the social media account for the Lehigh Engineers. So I occasionally I go out and take pictures for our Instagram account for that. So Lehigh definitely helped me grow and develop my skills in that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like it's really perfect because those can all be like really good references like for future jobs. Like it sounds like you're already building like a really like professional portfolio already and you're only a first year. So like by the time you're a senior, like you will be like the go-to photographer for these events, which could be some nice pocket change. um that's awesome. So I guess the next question, like, what's your inspiration for like doing photography in general or like doing certain like photos?
um, I guess my primary source of inspiration comes from either Pinterest or YouTube. I watch a lot of like YouTube videos that show different styles of photography. Um, and then another source of inspiration for me is like fashion magazines like Vogue and GQ. And I also follow like different fashion artists on Instagram. And that's where I curate a lot of my inspirations. to do different shoots.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. Um, so I guess like what motivated you to sort of like join the competition?
Literally nothing else to do. So I was like, I'm not even going outside to shoot anything. So I might as well just like take pictures of stuff inside and just like hone my creativity in that way. So that was primarily the reason I joined the competition. And it seemed really fun because a lot of people were doing it. A couple of my buddies were doing it. So I just wanted to, you know, do the same thing as a
Yeah,
creative.
that's awesome. And that was like our whole, I guess, goal in doing the challenge. You were like, it just seemed like there was a lot of like sense of community like being built throughout the challenge.
Yeah, I definitely got a couple of followers, but at the same time, like people were like messaging me, asking me how I took this picture or the other one, and how I was able to like come up with that idea, stuff like that. But like that was really interesting because before that, people wouldn't really ask me, like even through my Instagram account, they wouldn't ask me about how I took a specific shot. But through this competition, especially like the one specific question I got was for the one picture I took where I had the wine glass and it was the high shutter speed
Yeah.
photography. Yeah, that one, a lot of people had a lot of different questions about that, and they were really interested to know um, what my thought process was and how I did that. So yeah, that was a lot of
Yeah, I'm
fun.
actually that's cool. I'm actually going to share my screen because I did pull up some of your pieces. So awesome. Yeah, so this is actually one of the ones that definitely captured our eBoards interest. Like I know like a couple of our eBoard members like, well, do you remember that one piece where they had like the wine glass? I think it was Asgar. Like that piece was so good and it just looked so cool. So I think it's funny that you say that because that's one of the ones that like drew our eBoard's attention in the voting process. Like this one was also one where we're like, okay, like that's so cool, like the lighting and the contrast, like, and then it's upside down, and we were like, whoa. Can you give us some like, I guess like thoughts about the background of like this image here?
Okay, so this one was about a month and a half ago when initially like this whole quarantine thing started. I was hanging out with a couple of my buddies and we had skateboards together. I obviously brought my camera because I take it everywhere I go. And they were like, "Yo, can you just take some pictures of us just skateboarding?" And I was like, "All right, sure." And one of my buddies was wearing a certain pair of Converses that I really liked, and I just wanted to take a close-up image of that, a picture of that. So I took it, and it was kind of all right. So I
So I
decided to just like flip it upside down just to give it, I don't know, like a creative twist, if you will. And that was my thought process behind it.
Awesome. And then there was one other piece too that also like really stood out to us, and it was this one. Um, yeah, I don't know. You're like, how did you do this? Like, was this at home? Was this like where'd the newspapers come from?
Okay, so the newspapers were just like, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but they're brown and white newspapers, and
Yeah.
they were from Lehigh. When I cleaned out my room, they were just there, and I had it in my room just sitting there, and I was like, I can just like use that to cover up a wall that I had to make it like a backdrop. And then I don't know how I came up with the other idea of just like putting a paper bag inside my head or like on top of my head because I don't know, that was just completely random. But I
Yeah.
thought it was a neat idea to do, so I just did it.
Yeah, no, it was so good, and we were just like, ah, these, and that's why you won, one of the outstanding submissions prizes, and we literally had to create this prize because you and another individual were like, these submissions are just so good, like we can't just not let this like this can't just go unnoticed, like that's how much they stuck out. And I mentioned to some other people I interviewed earlier, but we had like 27 active participants, and some people were submitting 2 pieces a day, especially for the visual pieces. You know, we haven't even counted how many submissions we've had yet, but I know it was well over 50. So it's like for it to stand out of all of those submissions, like that's really, really impressive. And I
Thank
think you were one
you.
of the, yeah, of course. And I think you were one of the only people to actually submit photography. Like we had like a couple pieces that were like collages and stuff, but we didn't really get any photography either. And we were like, this is so good. But yeah, so like I guess how does it feel to know that like out of all of those submissions, you know, yours like stuck out the most?
Oh, it feels amazing because like I was just doing it for fun anyway, and
Yeah.
like, being noticed for it is just like, I don't know, it just feels great.
Yeah. That's good to hear. So I guess we just like two more questions before we wrap it up. So which submission or submissions were your favorite or like the most fun for you to complete?
So my favorite one was the high-speed photography one with the wine glass because I haven't really done anything like that before, and that was my first time doing it. And it was a lot of experimentation, but like at the end of it, I narrowed my shots down to a couple that turned out really well. So that was one of my favorite shots. Um, yeah.
Awesome. That's so good to know. Yeah, and I don't even know what high speed means. I just know that those ones we were like, how did he even capture splash in this one?
Yeah, basically I had my camera on a tripod on a
Hmm.
timer and it was on burst mode, and I basically like timed my camera and I literally just dropped it, and the camera took a bunch of shots, and that was one of the ones that turned out really well, so I submitted that.
That's so cool. Perfect. And then it's just one last question before we wrap it up. So how would you say the community that Artists for Change has created through this challenge, how has it sort of impacted, you know, your time right now, like being at home during all of this going on?
So it definitely gave me a platform to share what I was doing as a creative during this whole quarantine situation. And at the same time, it like allowed me to meet a lot of different artists and like other creatives that go to Lehigh as well. Like before this, I had a general idea of like people who were like creatives, but now like it just broadened my sense of like how many different creative artists there are at Lehigh, and it's incredible. Like especially when I got like different questions from the other artists asking how I did this, and they were like, wow, this is incredible. We should definitely like collaborate and stuff like that. That was incredible.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, and
oh yeah, and I was just gonna say, and that's like our whole goal in doing this is like not only to sort of like showcase the art, but like getting other artists to really like connect and like talk and like message one another. But that's awesome. Thank you so much for participating in the challenge and like sharing your pieces and also like taking the time to have an interview with us. Yeah, thank you so much.
no, thank you guys. Thank you guys for making this great competition. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it. I look forward to doing more stuff like this, actually. You guys are down
awesome.
to do it again.
Yeah, of course. And I guess before like I let you go, do you want to sort of share your club that you've created? And like maybe share some of that too.
This last semester, my friends and I created a club called the Creatives of Lehigh, where we basically highlight any sort of creative piece, whether it be photographers, artists, fashion models, anyone who basically has a hobby that they want to share. And we're starting out, but you know, we're trying our best to get as many people involved as possible. But obviously, since we can't, physically go to Lehigh right now and uh, start our club, it's a little hard for us, but we're trying our best to collaborate with other clubs like Artists for Change to bring different competitions that hopefully will attract more people, and we could possibly grow as a club together.
Yeah, and that's something we would definitely look forward to. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming out, sharing, also participating, and hopefully, you know, for people that are viewing this, they will see more challenges like this, and in the future, some collaborations between Artists for Change and the creatives of Lehigh. All right, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.